My guest today is an award-winning music producer. He's a singer-songwriter, and he's an all-round talent. In many ways, he's an enigma, and I'm so excited to sit down and talk to him today. I'm talking about none other than Cobhams Asuquo. Welcome to The Juice.
What's up, my love?
Hi, how are you?
I'm good, darling. How are you?
I'm good. I'm really excited about our conversation today.
I'm excited. I hope I don't talk too much.
Well, I feel like either way, we're gonna get a lot of juice and insight about who you are as a person.
Oh yeah.
I feel like I'm gonna learn a lot. I don't know if we should put out a disclaimer. Cobhams is my brother-in-law.
Yeah.
So he's married to my older sister.
Yeah, and I like to think of her as my sister.
Yeah, exactly.
I just got my baby sister, but she's all grown now, so.
I know. And it's crazy because I remember when I first met you, and I remember not knowing what to do or not knowing like how to relate with you because you were so hilarious. But at the same time, like I didn't know anyone who was visually impaired.
Yeah, I was just caught up in chasing your sister, quite honestly.
That's true. Yeah.
Yeah.
So let's talk a little bit about your childhood. I know that you grew up in the North.
Yes,
and
I did.
you come from a pretty large family. What was it like growing up for you?
So growing up, I did everything, I was big and bad enough and allowed to do.
Yeah.
I grew up in the barracks, a very interesting place. And the other rank side of the barracks. So it's that part you want to describe as somewhere near squalid, just very not the idea of upscale, you know what I mean? And so I would run and jump over gutters and play with friends, and so it was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun. It was exciting, and I feel like I'm a product of that freedom and the conversation that happened in a space like that. You know what I mean? I feel like that really helped to shape who I've become. So I really enjoyed growing up in the barracks in Jos.
So did you feel, when you were a child, did you ever feel different from other kids? Like when was the first time you actually knew that you were visually impaired? Were you ever made to feel different?
So I have to admit, I was a rambunctious little boy. I was all over the place, and and if any kid ever brought it to my attention, I don't think I paid it any mind. You know what I mean? So people will say things like, see person who they feel sorry for, no, they feel sorry for himself.
Yeah.
I'm like, what is this one talking about? And then there are kids who will be like, look at him, blind, something. I'm like, and so, so for me, I don't think, blindness meant more than, I would equate it with complexion or height or anything like that. Yes, at that age. And I think that it's one of the few instances where I think ignorance is truly bliss, because what I think that did for me was it helped me not pay too much attention to the wrong things and the wrong energy. You know what I mean? Yeah, it didn't affect my self-esteem in any way. At least not until my friends started stealing their father's cars and then started driving, and I realized I couldn't do that. I was like, oh, yeah. My coolness has a ceiling.
What role do you think your mother and your father played in the confidence that you had?
I think I've been blessed with amazing parents. My father's passed now, but my mother's. But, just amazing people who, not having raised a blind child and, not knowing exactly what to do, figure, we're not just going to model cuddle this boy. We're not just going to pamper him. We're going to give him a beating if that's what he deserves, or if that's what we feel. I mean, in corporal punishment at that time in Nigeria, you have to understand, was a thing. Yeah, and so I got my fair share of it. You know what I mean?
When did you discover your musical ability?
It was always a part of me. I don't know that there was a time, I grew up always doing music.
So how did you learn how to play instruments?
Funny story. A friend of mine had this little keyboard thing. It was a xylophone-ish keyboard thing that he was playing around with, just knocking the thing around. And the first time I got my hand on it, I made some sense. I don't think it mattered to him because he came and, he dragged the thing away, and I cried and cried. And then another friend of mine, Wrangler, wrote to me, bless his heart. I don't know if I should say this on TV. He took his sister's piano, and I'm putting it quite euphemistically, brought it to me and said, so you can play this piano, but don't play it outside.
So he stole it from her?
Pretty much.
So did you teach yourself how to play?
I taught myself how to play, yes.
Okay, so in terms of music, like where do you think you got the gift and talent from? Like, is there anyone else in your family that's musically inclined? Your mom, your late dad?
So my father was a failed DJ. He in the army, he would take out his turntable and go and do gigs and do jumps and stuff like that. He got drunk and broke his turntable pin one day. And I think that was the end of that situation for him. But he still played music in the house. Like, he played a ton of stuff, all the good stuff, you know. And then my mom, you know, she sang a little bit, not professionally, but she kept like music books, and she always wanted to be a singer. And I think she vowed, you know, that one of her kids, you know, would take after her and do music professionally. And I think that lot fell on me.
So when did you, I know because you studied law in school, well, you attempted to, and you were in Unilag for a little bit. When did you finally decide that you were going to make music a career? Especially because this was at a time where being a musician was not the it thing to do. Well, in many ways, it was like a failed option, or you didn't have another option to do it.
So, you know, like I said, music has always been a part of, you know, my life, my existence. It's a soundtrack to everything I do, you know, playing in my head, you know, good or bad. And I went through school. I went through school pretty much, you know, doing well with, like, you know, I was that academic achiever type student, you know. And in my third year, I just realized, look, this wig and gown and litigation and all of this stuff, you know, is really not going to work for me. You know, I can do so much more with my life. I know this is the person I've always wanted to be, but music is such a part of me. And, you know, I've just got to take that step. And mind you, by this time, I didn't know of any, you know, blind producer who had, you know, made it in music in Nigeria. But I realized, you know, I had to do something. I realized I had to break the mold. I realized, you know, it was up to me to sort of define, or, you know, another path of greatness. Generally, I've never really seen myself as, you know, living the everyday, you know, cookie cutter. Let's just do it. Let's just So I think based on what I think of myself, I was like, you know what, I'm going to take a chance with this, you know, and it's going to work. And when I got the support of my family, you know, it was both encouraging and daunting at the same time, because then I realized that, you know, now you're accountable because these people believe in you. They believe that whatever you do will work, so you have to make it work.
Like, what moment was where you like, wait a minute, I can actually do this as, you know, a livelihood, like this could be actually my job?
Yeah, so I mean, I always made music even when I was in school, like when I was in secondary school, but I think, you know, when it really happened for me and I got excited was, I was cutting commercials for a tech company, and I ran into Big Bamo. He used to manage Maintain back in the day. And he called me to do this gig, to produce a song for them. So my manager didn't want me to do it because it wasn't paying me good. But I wasn't really interested in getting paid as such then. I just wanted a chance to work with a group like Maintain. And so, you know, I did it for peanuts. And my manager decided to quit. But I heard the song on radio. It was Catch Cold. Catch Cold.
Catch Cold.
And I heard the song on radio, and I was like, yo, you've always wanted that. That's your song. And I'm like, no, man, you can be like. And I had all these guys I looked up to, like Timbo and Dr. Dre and Pharrell Williams. And you can be like this guy. So I think that was the moment for me. That was like the tipping point.
How did you, I know one of the most defining periods in your body of work has been working with Asha. You know, producing Jailer, Fire on the Mountain. I mean, these are like iconic songs, and in many ways changed the way people understood Nigerian music and the options. So how did that come about?
I think it was just, you know, the most organic process, and I think that's how things like that, you know, are meant to happen. Asha and I have been friends for over 14 years now, and we would just hang out and make music. I think the goal was to just explore what was possible musically. You've
definitely done a lot of mainstream, right? Which we would say, we call mainstream more pop music, or we'll say more club style music. Do you feel like when you're thinking about your music career and you're thinking about the longevity, you know, you've been in this game for how many years now?
Professionally, about 20 years.
20 years.
Thereabout,
And so much has happened, so much has changed. And I remember there was one time you said that you felt like your blindness is a gift, you know, in your TED Talk. Tell me a little bit more about that. Explain to me how you feel like that has it influenced, has it assisted, how has it contributed to who you are and the essence of what it is that you do as an artist?
I think that blindness has helped me focus. The thing with, you know, art is, you know, there's obviously trends, you know, and they come and they go. And I feel like, you know, what's happened with me being blind is a lot of the trend is visual. And I feel like I've not been caught up in like the visual components so much so that because most of what I'm doing is listening, I'm able to just sort of move, with the time.
Yeah.
Because I mean, it's a miracle in Nigeria, unless you're Two-Face or maybe Wizkid, that you're sort of still, sitting in there and making music and being relevant, like 20 years after you may have started.
Yeah.
And so for me, I feel like just being able to focus on the music, being able to focus on the art, being able to not be sort of swayed by a lot of the visual elements that accompany art.
Interesting.
I feel that's helped a lot.
Yeah.
Yes.
Nigerian music is still it's still trying to accept the alternative style. We're still heavily into club and dancing music. But have you ever felt sometimes that route would have been an easier route to take, especially as a music producer?
So I create a lot of that. More for, so my 9 to 5, like I like to call it, my day job is creating commercials.
Okay.
Creating commercials for like telcos and banks and all kinds of people. And that's a good avenue for me to experiment or to express, that other side, that more mainstream side. And so I don't, in a sense, I don't miss, or feel the need to sort of compensate and veer to that side. So I don't know if I think of it as an easy route. Like I said, I like to create music because, it is my truth. So if I want to, go out and create like a Zanku beat, I'm going to do it because, as much as I love, Tchaikovsky and Rachmaninoff and, all of that stuff, I can also sit down and listen to Zlatan and
of
think,
course.
That's a vibe right there.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I created from that, being able to connect with it, originally, being able to connect with it, authentically. Yeah. So, no, I don't think it's an alternative. I've never considered it as an alternative for me. What sound
would you say is your first love? If someone was going to say you can only choose one genre of music, what genre of music would you choose?
That is tough. It would be, it would be jazz and classical. Jazz, classical, and maybe Akbala. I love me some good Akbala.
Which one is Akbala?
Not
No,
indeed, that's Fuji.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Akbala is kind of like the classical iteration of like Yoruba traditional music. It's really, and they play with the doje and the yalus and stuff like that.
Okay, so I want to talk a little bit about being signed to Sony as a songwriter, and I wanted to find out what that relationship like is now, and also what was that experience like, working with them and having the opportunity to write for some amazing musicians.
So I was signed to Sony as a songwriter from Sony ATV London from 2005 to 2010. It was an interesting relationship because so nothing really prepares you for it, especially coming out of this space. So when you get into a situation like that, all that you have and all that gives you that space is your talent. And so all that you rely on is your talent, which means that you only become more strategic in terms of how you use that opportunity as you grow older. Yeah, being signed to Sony was my school in many ways, because during that experience and even after that experience, I was able to land a few sync deals with materials that I'd written for movies and series. We did a couple of things for much later, of course, for Being Mary Jane and So You Think You Can Dance and things like that. And that was really exciting. So it was an exciting time for me, but I think I learned. I think I was meant to learn from that experience more than anything else.
So I think I want us to talk. I know the story about how you met my sister. How you met your wife, Ojuola.
It depends on whose version you know.
I know, there's so many different versions. Well, her name used to be Yetunde when you first met her.
Oh, yeah.
But tell me a little bit about, being married and how important marriage was to you, when you were younger.
At an early age, I began to prepare myself for marriage.
Okay.
I began to prepare myself, for love in terms of, the sacrifice and the commitment of it. As opposed to just the feeling of it.
Interesting.
The feeling of it was already taken care of. I'm a very emotional being.
Yeah.
But just the sacrifice and the other side of it. When the pendulum swings the other way, and you have to love this person who's driving you up the wall and pissing you the heck off. Then it becomes something you need to prepare for. Otherwise, you'll be shocked how your nice guy can become this person that you almost don't recognize. So yeah, I pretty much prepared myself for that, or I was preparing myself for that.
Were you ever worried that being visually impaired would hinder the ability to find the kind of person that you wanted, or that it would be hard, to be a dad?
No, not in the least. I guess because, as a blind person, I grew up with myself. I know myself. I know the things that I'm capable of doing. You know what I mean?
I mean, you lived by yourself for years.
I lived by myself for years, exactly.
Yeah.
And so, when I think about it, this is how I see it. I've always seen it as there's a difference between what you can and cannot do.
Got it.
And what you will and will not do. You know what I mean? And I feel like, we're in a world where there are a lot of things, that, especially in marriages, people can do but will not do, either because culture, society, or expectation allows them to not do. And for me, because I'm all about breaking that cycle, that mold, I take it upon myself. However, discomforting it can be sometimes to do those things. And I feel like that's a very important. It's very hard sometimes, but it's an important recipe for building a strong marriage. So I didn't worry.
I see what you're saying. Yeah. I see what you're saying. Now let's talk a little bit about being a dad. What's the most unexpected experience of it?
It was more a feeling of helplessness for him than love. I'm like, you're so tiny and so cute, and you can't do anything for yourself, and you're not gonna go home like all the other babies I've been carrying. You're here with me, and you're gonna keep your mother and I up all night.
You're
and all
permanent.
That. Yeah, but I was filled with a certain measure of love and rage. And I knew that I would not let harm come to him. And I knew that, it was to be a special relationship.
Yeah.
And then to hear, just to watch your child take his first steps and watch him talk and watch someone call you daddy and depend on you and put their hands up when they come to you.
Yeah.
It teaches you to love in a different way. It teaches you to love not just for your sake. You know what I mean? Yeah, it broadens your understanding of love. And so I think that's probably one of the things I've learned. I've learned to love like in a different way, not from a selfish standpoint, which is probably how I've loved all my life.
How would you describe your relationship with your wife?
The fact that we were friends. The fact that we were friends before we go. So yeah, Ojola is my gist body. We can't gist for Africa.
Yeah.
We like gist. We like gist. And I think that's good for us because then, when for whatever reason, we don't agree, it doesn't linger because you don't really have another gist body like that. You know what I mean? So
you gotta go back to the person that you can
talk
to.
The person you can gist with, especially the person who can keep your gist, because your gist must not fly.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? So I like the fact that we're friends.
Yeah.
I like the fact that we've both worked on each other, and we're teachable. I've learned so much from. And I'm sure you know this about your sister. Yeah. She's an amazingly smart. She's
insanely smart.
Yeah. I always say she's the smarter of the two of us. You know what I mean? And I take advantage of it unashamedly.
Yeah. We have to wrap this up. I could definitely keep talking for a long time. But I want to find out from you in terms of music and projects that are coming soon. I know you released your album For You last year, which was absolutely amazing.
Thank you.
I think it's a beautiful, beautiful worship album. Are you going to be releasing any new music anytime soon?
I am releasing new music soon. I'm really, really excited about it. So I just finished working on a song with Simi.
Oh, nice.
Oh yeah. I've known Simi for a very long time.
Yeah.
And I'm happy that we're finally, putting out something together.
Okay.
So I'm excited about that. That's out in September.
I mean, I know it's going to be a really great year, specifically coming up next year. Now, I want us to play a really quick game before we wrap this up.
Oh, those.
So it's going to be rapid fire questions. So I am going to say out the question and then you just have to give me the answer. Ready?
Ready.
All right. The last thing you do before going to bed?
Just think.
You think?
Yeah.
Okay. Favorite musical of all time?
Musical?
Yes.
Hamilton.
Oh, okay. Cheesiest pickup line you ever used?
Oh, you're so damn fine when I can't even see you.
That's funny. That's funny. If your life could be a hashtag, what would it be?
Hashtag greatness.
Greatness. Oh, that's wonderful. Thank you so much for coming and
You're welcome,
sharing
love.
your journey with us. I think a lot of people will be so inspired to hear the progress.
I hope.
All right, well, that is it for this episode of The Juice with Cobhams Asuquo. Make sure that you comment down below and let me know who do you want to see on the next episode. My name is Bolanle. I will see you next time. Bye-bye.